Welcome to the KDC Martial Arts Self-Defense Series. As always, the techniques and skills shown should only be done under the supervision of a qualified instructor.
All right, so let's start with the first principle of blocking. The first principle of blocking is that you can touch yourself faster than someone else can touch you. What exactly does that mean? What that means is that the further out you have to reach to stop somebody's block, the more timing it requires for you to pull that block off. So if someone's reaching out to touch you, they have to close that gap, whatever that distance is between you and them. You're already close enough to you, which means that you can touch yourself faster than they can touch you. So your blocks that you use should be kept close. You don't want to go reaching out too far away from you. Blocks are going to be something that happens off of a flinch response. It's going to be something that you do kind of instinctually. So you want to keep your blocks close. Okay, so the next block that we're going to talk about requires a little bit more timing work and exercise, because we're going to meet the punch a little bit before it comes in, but we're still going to keep everything closer, and we refer to this as the catcher's mitt. So we think of our hands like being baseball gloves, like we're catching something coming in. In episode 1, we talked about open hand strikes and why open hand strikes were so good. And one of the things that we talked about in those open hand strikes being good in self-defense was that open hand strikes give you the ability potentially to grab things. So what we're going to do is kind of change that grab concept a little bit here and just think of it as a quick catch concept. So I'm not really trying to grab necessarily, although I can. What I'm really trying to do is catch temporarily something coming in. And this is really good against straight punches. So when straight punches are coming in this way, what I can do with my hands are up is I can quickly catch those punches, right? Like it's a ball being thrown and I'm using that mitt to catch those punches, okay? What I can also do is I can slap those punches away to the side and I can use my footwork side to side as I do that. So if I were to have a punch coming in, and as that punch came in, I slapped it to the side and I moved myself, I'm going to give myself the best opportunity to not get punched by that straight punch. Again, the good news is that unless you're dealing with a trained fighter, you're very unlikely to see a lot of straight punches in any kind of street self-defense, street fight type of scenario. Most of the time, it's looping punches that are thrown. So we will have some straight punches thrown every once in a while. It's usually what we like to call those get-back punches. The punch where the person they go to throw that punch because they want you to stay away from them as well. So they're throwing the punch and they're leaning back as well, because then they're going to try to get some timing, and then they're going to come with a big overhand punch to come around. And most people really are trying to knock you out with that one or two hits. They want that big punch that just knocks you out or stops you. That's what most people are looking for. So again, as I said, the key in using the catcher's mitt concept for blocking is that we actually have to let the punches come in a little bit. But we don't want to be in the spot where the punch is going to land. So this is why we're going to use a combination of our hands, okay, to help deflect or catch, and our hands and our footwork rather to also move ourselves out of the way. So I'm moving this way, I'm moving that way, and I'm using my footwork to help me do that. A little bit of a body lean, a little bit of a footwork step, and then using our hands up in that position. Just think of it a lot like when you were a little kid and you were playing games with your friends, games like tag, things like that. Or just even maybe playing around with a little bit of slap boxing, trying to get each other and hit each other, is then you also put your hands out front and you kind of slap things away from being able to touch you or grab you. So that's the same kind of concept. So what's the risk here with the catcher's mitt? So the risk with the catcher's mitt is very simple, and that is if you mistime this, if you predict wrong, if you think that the punch was a straight punch coming in and you're going to predict it and you're going to stop it, and instead that person ends up throwing that looping punch, you could step into a punch and you could get hit. So all blocking requires some level of practice and timing. You can't just look at the technique and go, oh, I got that and now I can block things. You need to go through a practice where you're working with somebody else who can help you understand how to not over predict, but to allow yourself to see what's actually happening and make the block based off of that. Another tip for getting good, particularly at this type of blocking, is to learn to move your feet first and then try to block second. A lot of people start the opposite way. The punch is coming in and they're learning to slap the punch away. And what they should really do is, as the punch is coming, learn to step to the side, okay? And then if they can learn to step to the side to kind of avoid the punch, now their blocking becomes this extra piece they're adding onto it. So the punch is coming and I'm going to step to the side to avoid the punch, and then I'm also going to reach up and slap that punch away. And so that is a lot more of an effective approach. If we can learn to move our feet to avoid punches and then add our blocking in as a way to just make sure the punch doesn't land, just in case our feet didn't quite do what we wanted them to do as quickly as we wanted them to do it.
The idea here is that if I try to just punch Xander, he's gonna just block and move. So again, if he's gonna use his left hand to block this punch coming in, he's gonna move a little bit to his left so that he can make sure he is offline. So I'm gonna just throw nothing but that first punch, that jab, and he's gonna block it. Okay, we're gonna do that again. As you can see, I'm being careful. I'm not actually in a distance to make contact with him yet. We'll get to that, but we want to be safe first. So we want to make sure that he gets the motion down first, okay? So he's going to move his feet, he's going to slap that block away and just keep it from hitting him cleanly. If I throw this back punch here, what he's going to do is he's going to go ahead and use this backhand, he's going to slap that one away, and he's going to move to the right when he does. Okay, so again, same thing. You can move to the right, okay? Okay, this gives him the ability to move offline as the punch is coming in. So if Xander doesn't slap either of these punches away, but he just steps, you'll see that he's immediately offline. So I throw the punch, he's already offline of the punch. He's already offline of the punch. So he's not where I needed him to be for the punch to land. Now, I threw a punch with my left hand and he blocked with his left hand. I threw a punch with my right hand, he blocked with his right hand. You don't have to do it that way, okay? He could block my punch that I throw with my left with his right hand. But if he does, he's still gonna move to the right. So if I go to throw this, okay? So again, you don't have to do that. Just remember, if I go to throw this, he just needs to move, okay? So I go to throw this punch, he's gonna move. So if he adds that right hand in, and then he can do it more like a catcher's mitt style block, and that really gives him a lot of control. Okay, once again, boom. And it's the same thing on the other side. I can throw that right-handed punch, and he can choose to use his left hand, okay, to go ahead and push that away as he steps to his left. Okay? And once again, if he doesn't block it at all, but just steps, you'll see that he's offline. Okay? Yeah, so if he doesn't block at all, and he just steps, you'll see that he's offline. Okay, so that's the point. These punches are straight, and they expect him to be right here in front of me. If he's not there, okay, the punch will miss. So the catcher's mitt is just to ensure that the punch misses. It's making sure, but your footwork is what you're trying to really avoid the punch with, okay? So again, we can then accelerate and move it a little bit quicker. Okay, and again, we want to take it slow, we want to take it easy, don't want to go too fast. But as our partner develops their abilities and their skills, we can then amp it up. We can raise the speed, we can raise the power, we can close the distance so we're a little bit closer to them and we would actually make contact with their face. And that's when we would then go ahead and move on to using safety equipment. Okay? All right, so once again, as we're gonna go ahead and accelerate this drill to the next level, we're gonna start adding in equipment, things like mouth guards, things like helmets. And in this case, we're gonna use smaller gloves than the boxing gloves because this allows us to open our hands up more and use that catcher's mitt-like feeling. It's a little awkward in the boxing gloves, although you can absolutely use boxing gloves for that. And of course, you don't need any of this equipment to do this, but we recommend it, that you be safe when you train so that there are no injuries occur. All right, you're gonna block. There you go, do that. As always, the techniques and skills shown should only be done under the supervision of a qualified instructor.